mean, Matt, I feel like 1 minute we're sitting here discussing Premier League football. The next minute we're discussing Europa Conference, Game 2. Then we're back to the Premier League. Then we're Game 3, Premier League, Game 4, Premier League, Game 5. We've won 5 out of 5 in the Conference League as we move into Game 6 against Fcsb, formerly known as Steaua Bucharest. The dead rubber game, mate. We know and we have seen your stat attack. You've given us all the inside knowledge that we need to know ahead of the game. I've given you a mini preview on the game, but it is a dead rubber, mate. How are you feeling about it?
Exactly that. I'm sorry. Like I tried to like garner interest. I was trying to like, they could try and get 3 points, go push above the team above them. I don't know what the prize money is for finishing like third bottom. Like, is it worth it in the Europa Conference League? I know it might be worth it in the Europa League, and because you'd at least drop into the Conference League, and the Premier League you drop down into the Europa League. But
the message is, the message is though, like, he wants to. If he could go and do this and get 100% a record in Europe, he'd be over the moon. But on top of that, I mean, we've actually won 7 games on the trot in Europe, if you include the 2 playoff games as well.
Yeah.
So, in terms of European form, we're in a bit of a run of form. David Moyes, though, I don't really know if it was a press conference or it wasn't a press conference, to be honest. I was a bit kind of, I am here, don't worry, I am here.
Panic stations.
Yeah, there we are, just getting,
technical difficulties.
For some reason it's switched cameras on me, so I'll get that set up as well. But I'm not necessarily sure if he did a press conference today. But he did speak.
Did something. Yeah.
He did speak, and he did do something of some sort. Now, he was talking to someone and explaining to someone that certain players would start. Now, we'll come across that in a minute. He never individually said what players in terms of the area I'm going to discuss, which is the youth players. So he alluded to the fact that young players will start the game this evening against Steaua Bucharest, which I think is really good, Matt. I like it. We did it last year in the Europa League. I think there was upwards of 7 players in total made an appearance between starting and coming off the bench. I don't see it being as many, but I do see a few. How would you feel about young players coming in, mate, and getting involved?
I think it could be upwards of 7, but I don't think it'd be upwards of 7 starting.
No.
But it doesn't mean that, if he's got 2 young kids that both play the same position, doesn't mean one might play 45, the other won't play 45, or one plays 60, one plays 30. I think it's a good opportunity, and it's a very rare thing for Moyes where there is literally nothing riding on a game.
Yeah.
So for Moyes, it really is a chance to see, are these kids got anything? Because, all right, it might be Europa Conference League, but it's still Europa Conference League. It's still going to be a higher standard than Championship football, League 1, League 2, whichever they've been going out on loan at. So it'll still give them Moyes a gauge of, are they at least ready to be in the equation of looking to push for first team squad position?
But on top of that as well, though, mate, I mean, you've got really senior players that will want to play game time as well, and the biggest thing for David Moyes is he wants the confidence and he wants the momentum. And like you said, mate, if he can have young players stepping up and challenging even the players that are, in the second 11, I suppose you could say, then it's always going to cause positivity really around the squad. But anyway, I think when we choose these starting 11s, we have a kind of rough idea what we're going to get. We have a reasonable idea of who's going to come in and who's not going to come into the team. Now, I think this starting 11, mate, is going to be one of the toughest we have done yet. But we're going to give it a shot and give it a whirlwind. So, without further ado, let's get on to the goalkeeper. Now, Fabianski limped out against Manchester United. Areola came on at half-time. Areola has been the cup keeper. This would, a theory, allow... sorry, I don't know what's going on with my camera this morning, so I do apologise. This would, in theory, allow the current third choice keeper, Darren Randolph, an opportunity to start. Now, people are calling for Christian Hedgie, the young under-21 goalkeeper, who's an absolute unit, mate. He is. He's a He's a big lad. Got to see him in training. He was highly thought of in the training session. He's 20 years old, so he's a young lad, but he's a big unit as well. What do we do in the goalkeeper position?
You know what? It depends, because like I said, he'll only play so many, so it depends on where he wants to get players in elsewhere. I do think he will probably go for experience in goal, because I'm pretty sure even last year when he rotated, I think he still even played Areola, but I'm more leaning to the fact that if Fabianski did have a concussion, is it 6 days, 7 days?
Yeah.
So he may not actually be allowed to play on Sunday, depending on what it is and if it is a concussion, etc. So,
I mean, what's the point in having a third keeper though if you're not going to give him any game time? And if you didn't allow him to leave the club in January, when apparently there was offers on the table for him, so and he was quite vocal on social media saying, "Listen, I wasn't allowed to leave." So obviously there was an option there for him to go. So for me, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, Mr. Darren Randolph, as well. But do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's stick with Mr. Darren Randolph then in goalkeeper. If you are watching, let us know your thoughts of who you would like to see in goal, who you think will be in goal. Now, the one player he did say that's going to start in the game tomorrow is the new, you could say, the flagship signing, really, in the summer until he picked up that injury against Rangers in pre-season friendly. He played in the last game against Silkeborg and had an absolutely fantastic game. Naif Aguerd. Now, David Moyes has said he's handing him his second start for West Ham, so I don't think there's any need for us to sit here and have that argument. But on Aguerd, mate, what do you think about him?
I just, it's all if buts, ands, and maybes now. But I just wonder where our season would have been if he'd have been available earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Because you could see after, I know it was Silkeborg last week, but you could see after 75 minutes of play just how much better he was than the defenders around him.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. And also, what I find really interesting about that is I think when we predicted Aguerd would start, I think we thought though that he would maybe have played to the left of the centre back. I thought Augie would have been in the centre back, but no, he started in the centre back right through the middle, and he was fucking phenomenal. Like, no wonder you start there. He drives forward from the back and guides everyone. He was shouting and screaming. He's a captain in the making. So definitely excited about him. But listen, who partners him? I mean, I'm assuming we're going with the back five again.
Yeah. I do think Augie will be in there.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate, as well. Let me just... What were we going to say?
I'm more worried about who's going to be the other side is the thing for me. I think Augie has been pretty much he is a European player this season. He is part of the cup team. Yeah.
And I thought Augie had a very good game, to be honest, with you. And I think he's been playing quite well recently as well. So it's good to have him back in the setup. Now, I don't see any of the youth players stepping up in the centre back role for West Ham in this game. So last week against Silkeborg, it was Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'm tempted to maybe say it will be Johnson again.
Yeah, I think it might be as well. If you are watching, what do you think? Put it in the comment section and let us know. But I think he's not necessarily going to get game time if Dawson's fit, which he was.
No.
Zuma in the Premier League puts Kira at the right back position, so it's going to give Ben Johnson an opportunity to play in a position he's played a lot in this season.
That right side of the back three,
Yep, absolutely. Now, put your comments in the comment section and let us know your thoughts on what we've just done here. But if you do put Johnson in there, that obviously leaves the fullback position on the right-hand side free. What's your thoughts? Because I've got a theory.
if he doesn't play him now in this game, then he has to be gone. I'm assuming we're on the same wavelength right now.
Yeah, we are. Harrison Ashby.
Yeah.
My kind of, it's not really a theory, to be honest. He was very proactively promoting himself in training a lot on his own social media platform over the past couple of days. So, we were led to believe he was kind of not fit and hasn't been fit through a strain of a muscle or something like that. But he was and was featured. I think he featured in the under-21s game in the week as well. So he is probably going to be back in the squad. And I think this is where we're going to see one of our first young changes come into the team. And we've seen him a couple of times, mate. He's more than capable of stepping up, isn't he?
Well, we were talking about him pre-season. We were quite raving about him. We thought it's all going hunky-dory and it was all looking good. And we're like, we were saying he might get more playing time overall in the Europa League, just the Europa Conference League this year, weren't we? Yeah. Back in the summer, we think, he was one of the ones that did have a better pre-season. And we thought, he's not going to get in the first team and it's going to be hard with Zuma and Johnson, but he might, if he gets a chance in the Europa League, he might take it. And then it all just fell apart, didn't it? Newcastle came calling on deadline day. And if you believe that had Dawson been sold, then Ashby would have also been sold because they would have got a fella in from, was it Torino to replace him?
Yeah.
Then he got injured. West Ham managed to get him to stay at least until, I don't know, January, should we say. And you thought, all right, he's going to get some game time. They must, if West Ham believe he's good enough and they've got any inclination of trying to keep him, they need to blood him in and give some playing time. Like I said, then he just disappeared. He's been injured. So he did play for the under-23s in the last game, or the Premier League 2 team, whatever the thing's called these days. But if he doesn't play that game and he still starts Soufal, then he'll be done. So I have to believe that he's going to get the run out.
Yeah, I do as well, mate. I mean, listen, I think Soufal has been performing really well in the West Ham shirt since he was under quite a lot of the critical eyes of West Ham fans. But I think he's been doing a solid job for us, if I'm being brutally honest. But I think this is the sort of game you want to see listen, we know what he's capable of doing. I think he's more than capable of stepping up to this level. And he want a bit of game time as well, So for me, Ashby goes in at the right fullback, you could say. Now, the wing back on the left-hand side, do you see any players stepping up, or is it going to be who we think it is?
I'm just trying to work out who would even.
I mean, I'll be brutally honest with you, mate. I don't think there will be anyone. I think it is going to be this man and this man alone, Emerson. I think he's.
I don't have amazing knowledge of under-23, so I'm trying to think. Is it Clayton? Is he the left back?
Regan Clayton, yeah.
So it depends. I mean, you could put the two fullbacks in as the kids because you've still got the experience in the middle three, but it depends on what Moyes thinks is like. Because I think we agree he's only going to play maybe three or four kids. He's not going to throw everything at it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to fill in the gaps of where I think the spaces will be.
This is where I think he won't mess with it because I think, Palmieri plays for Italy. They've not qualified for the World Cup. He's not getting regular Premier League game time and he'll want to play as many games. There's 3 competitive games before he plays his next competitive game on Boxing Day. So yeah. I think he's probably one of those shoe-ins that needs games under his belt, and Moyes wants to see what he's capable of doing in that position, because then obviously we'll have a few friendlies over the World Cup period, and his job is to come in and try and knock off anyone out of that position. So for me, I think it's Emerson. I think it's a no-brainer that he goes in there. If you are watching, let us know your thoughts on that situation. So we've gone with a back 5, 3 centre-halves and 2 wing-backs. Let's move into the midfield, Matt. Last week we had Connor Coventry and Lanzini starting the game. Now, I did get that right.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to start with the first one, mate. I don't think you'll see Downs. I don't think you'll see Souček, and I don't think you will see Rice in this game. But I do
this
think,
one I entirely agree. Yeah.
yeah, and I think the first player that goes in that team sheet is going to be Connor Coventry in the middle of the park. I thought he had a really good game, actually. Really nice breaking up the play, really effective at what he was doing, good progressive passes. And yeah, he's another one that's trying to prove something, prove a point in it to Moyes. Listen, keep me at the club. Like he seems to love the club, so I think that's definitely something that you want to do. Thoughts?
No, I think you're right. I think he will. I think the last couple of games, much like Downs a month or so before, he's starting to show Moyes a bit of his worth. I think Moyes has gone, actually, there might be something in there. You know, don't forget that's how Downs started. Downs had to have like 3 man of the match performances in a row in the Europa League before Moyes was then like, oh, he's been playing well in Europe. We had an injury in the midfield. What do we do? Could have brought in Fornals or Lanzini. He brought in Downs instead. So it's shown some of the kids there is a pathway to it, and looks like Connor Coventry is in that mould as well. I mean, you know, he's been around the club a lot longer.
Yeah.
I did worry for him this year when Downs come in. I was like, oh, that's Coventry done.
Yep.
But maybe he's given more second thoughts and something to think about again.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, 100%. So if you are watching, let us know your thoughts for Connor Coventry coming into the team. Who is going to be his midfield partner? This is where I think we may see another young player step up to the mark, mate. And my suggestion is Forson. I've been a keen admirer of.
I was going to say either Forson or Ekwa.
Well, I've been a really keen admirer of Keenan Apaya Forson, a tenacious, energetic midfield player. He's been at West Ham since he's been 14, and he broke into the West Ham under-18 squad back in 2018. But he also would end last season with more appearances for under-23s than any other player, featuring 34 times in all competition for Mark Robson's side. And earned himself a new contract. And we did see him appear in the Europa League last year, albeit he came on as a sub quite late, but he ended up playing quite a bit up top for West Ham last year in the under-23s. But I think he really is a future talent for us. He's tiny. He's absolutely tiny, but he is a man machine in the middle of the park. He is your kind of description I could describe him as N'Golo Kante style midfielder, tenacious, never gives up, never says die attitude. And this is where I think he's going to come into the team, and he'll be the second young player to get a run out for us. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, in fairness, if you've got the 3 centre-backs in behind who have all got good experience, and Coventry's not exactly lacking experience. He still had game time, first team time, under-23s time elsewhere. So yeah, it's if you look at it, it's positions where if they were weak, they're still covered by other players. Yeah. You know, Ashby out on the wings got Johnson and Coventry either side of him, and then if you look at Force, and you could say Bonner and Emerson.
Yeah.
So he'll have people looking after him, guiding him. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go, mate. So we've got 8. I can tell Matt's struggling with this one. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's especially when you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, because you just know, Moyes is just going to do something. You don't know what he's going to do, and it's like we all joked last week. I think I said last week he could literally put Bonner and Aguerd on a plane with the under-23 squad and just they can go out there. Wouldn't matter.
Yeah, they could go out there and do what they need to do. Yeah, of course they could. Yeah, absolutely. Right, so let's move on to the left-hand side of midfield. Mate, who for you goes into the team?
I've been saying for about 3 weeks about frigging what's his name? Cornet, but every time I say about him coming back, he gets injured again. Yeah. I don't know, you could put another kid out there. Or do you?
I don't see it.
Is this the one position where you just play him because he seems to be in a bit of form and you want to keep the form going?
Yep. 100%. Actually think heavily feature in this game tomorrow in Ben Rama. I think it's a no-brainer, mate. Like I said it last week to you. I said the comments that were coming out was that he's a confidence player. He's admitting he's a confidence player. He is in a good bit of form, and I'm not saying disrespecting the opposition, but he's got a good chance to try and get something at the game, get himself, amongst the goals if he can, set up the goals. And you want that. You want that from these players. They want to play. I think on the other side it'll be a different player, but normally if we were trying to challenge for something, you would have seen Jared Bowen there. Ben Rama's a different sort of player. Like Ben Rama doesn't matter if it's a dead rubber. Like Ben Rama needs to play, mate. He needs that consistency of team selection. Now, you could turn around to Ben Rama and say, how many games have you started or been involved in the last 10? That's good for his mentality rather than the opposite way, which is negative for his mentality. So, and he's deservedly getting his position, and fans will be like, I would never have him near the team. What happens then against Palace on Sunday? But hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, we might be having some good news about Max Cornet, so we'll have to wait and see. But for me, mate, it's Benny all day long. Thoughts?
Yeah. I said probably I don't know enough about the under-23s.
Yeah.
I said like maybe Potts would go in there, but
yeah, I think we might see Potts coming off the bench at some point, for West Ham anyway. At that point, now let's move on to the right hand side. Normally it would be Jared Bowen, especially in Europe. He plays most games for West Ham. He's more than capable of stepping up most of the time for West Ham. But I don't think he'll feature, mate, tomorrow. I really don't think he will. Don't think there's any need to for him. What do we do on this right-hand side? I mean,
I don't know. Do you go Fornals? Do you go Soufal? Do you go, I don't know, Terry Nevers maybe? Like,
he's on loan, mate. He's out on loan, so he can't go there.
I was going to say, I know.
There's another player, though, that I've seen in training, and it's Kamari Swire. He's a dynamic midfielder who's got a lot of speed, an eye for goal, vision to pick out an incisive pass. So he's a decent player. He can catch the eye, can play along any position along the front three. So he's a quality player. I've seen him in training. Now I don't know if he'll necessarily start, but I think you could go back to your trusted old Pablo Fornals.
Yeah,
with this one.
Yeah.
Or you ready for this one? Antonio.
Yeah, he could chuck Antonio in there. It's just a hard one. I don't.
I know it is, mate. You're struggling, but you're going to have to stop struggling and give me some answers. Go for it. Wing it.
I'll go Fornals.
You're going to go Fornals?
Because I think it might even let Benny play the other side.
Right.
And it gives them the option to play like them two to swap about.
Right, okay. Right, let's go for Fornals. What do you think then from what Matt's saying? I mean, I'm going to go a bit bold and a bit different, but I think he might actually look at putting Antonio there. I'll tell you why in a second when we move on to our final position in the team. Let me just confirm it definitely is the final position in the team. Yeah, it is. It is. So, without further ado, give me your striker, mate.
I can't pronounce his name. Mbama,
yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll play. I think he did it last year, didn't he? Didn't he put
Sonny Perkins?
Sonny Perkins. Yeah, so it's Sonny Perkins. Me played with Sonny Perkins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he did try that last year, and the reason I didn't pick Antonio on the wing was because I think he can start Mbama, and then if it doesn't work out, or if he's struggling for something, then he can then bring Antonio on for him.
Yeah, it's a valid point, actually. That is an absolute valid point. Let me get you up for Matt's starting 11. There.
I mean, look, this could be bang on, or this could be like zero. I'm fairly certain with 6 players, but there's a 5 that it's a roll of the dice.
Well, let me go
think the
through
back
the
three.
Well, listen, he said he's going to start a few of the young players. So if there's anything you're going to be certain about, you should be more certain about the 3 young players that are in this team more than the other players. It's just what young players are going to start. But let me go through the team that you've gone for. Matt's gone for Darren Randolph in goal for his first start of the season. Aguerd to make his second appearance for West Ham in a competitive game through the middle. In defence, he will be supported with Ben Johnson and Angelo Ogbonna. Either side of him, Palmieri, Emerson out on the left wing-back position. Harrison Ashby comes back into the side after seeing him feature a lot last year. We've gone for a Connor Coventry and Akina Forson in the middle of the park. Young under-23 player. Yes, you could say a lot of inexperience in there, but I think Connor Coventry's savvy enough to know what he needs to do in that role. So we've gone there. Subject to changes, of course, this team is. We've gone for Ben Rama because we think that his confidence needs the boost, and he's a confidence player. So he'll play there. Out on the right-hand side, Fornals. Matt's gone with Fornals and Mbama up top. I have gone for something extremely similar, except for I've gone for Antonio out on the right-hand side and Mbama through the top. I'm just trying to be a little bit different and just see what we can do to support the young lad. And I think that I'd be slightly worried by not supporting him, you know. And if it was Mbama and you really wanted that feisty fight in the middle of the park, you could see Fornals slip in instead of Benrahma, or you could see Fornals come in instead of Forson or Coventry. I think Coventry will play, but Fornals could come in there. But either way, listen, Matt, I can tell you've been struggling for this show today. It's a tough one.
You know what? This probably is the hardest one we'll pick all season.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know the back three will be right. Actually, probably the back three and Emerson will be right.
Yeah.
And you know, Coventry will probably be right.
Yep. But apart from that,
Benrahma.
It's like pick up the players, throw them up in the sky, and see who lands in their position.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
you're right, mate. It is.
Who does Moyes think's warranted staying at home? Who does he think needs the playing time? Who does he want to give under 23s a go to?
Well,
we'll see. We could get the team sheet come in, and it could be the back three we predicted with Randolph, and it could be kids, the rest of the team, with like Coventry being the experienced player.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be that much though, because we are away, so you don't want to throw them under the bus too much. But I think you need.
Don't want to do a Big Sam, no.
Yeah, nah. I don't think we'll be doing that. I think you need to see a strong mixture of experience, players who need game time, and a bit of youth as well. So that's why I quite like the team that we've created. So keep that one in mind for that option. Matt, with regards to the game, though, what's your thoughts?
You know what? People might not like this because I did say this in the
Oh no!
I did actually say, I was like, it wouldn't surprise me if we lose, because I don't think it's a case of that Moyes doesn't. Yes, in a personal sense, he might be happy with we're still unbeaten. We've done the qualifier and the group unbeaten, but like the game last year, the result was kind of second in the game. It was giving kids minutes to see who's at what point, who's where, who's developing, who's got a chance of progressing and becoming like a regular first teamer in the future. And I do still think like that could be a case, but it depends how strong he goes. If he puts the sort of team out that we've picked, then I'd actually still fancy a draw. I'd go for like a 2-2. I'd still fancy us to get a result out of the game. But if he went weaker, for instance, he went more 1-23s, then, which is what I was thinking when I'd done the stat attack, I was like, that wouldn't surprise me if you lose. But I'll take a draw. I'll take a draw out of it. Keep us undefeated.
I can't see that, mate. I just can't see that. I don't want to put too much disrespect on Steaua Bucharest. I mean, I know we beat them 3-1 after going 1-0 down, but at the last game. But for me, the strength and depth that we've got, and the youth quality that we've got from what we understand, from what we've seen from some of the people that do watch the games, I think there's enough there, mate. I really do. I'm really confident. You know, it's nice to see the young players step up. It's an opportunity for them, mate, to I know they got beat in the Europa in the Europa League. Who was that against? Was that against Zagreb at home?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Zagreb game,
I,
and that was only
I
1-0 in fairness.
Yeah, I understand it, but I thought they gave a good account for themselves as well.
Yeah.
But for me, I just don't see West Ham rocking up tomorrow and getting beat, if I'm being brutally honest with you as well. I mean, listen, we're sitting here talking about other players. Like, we could see Skamaka feature again but we could, mate, because he's not playing for Italy in the World Cup.
Nah, I don't think he'll play.
Well, you're saying that, but last week you would never have thought that we'd have brought all the players we brought off the bench to come off the bench and feature, and he did. He committed to it. So I'm not saying he will, but I'm not saying he'll start. Definitely don't think he'll start, but you just never know, mate. I mean, he Skamaka.
I think he'll get left at home.
Really?
I think him, Rice, Socek.
I don't think
Zuma.
Rice is left at home, mate. I think Rice is
Well, I
gone.
don't know if you saw Sky today.
Uh-oh.
They're saying he's got a fitness issue, and he's not travelling at all.
Ah, right, okay.
Well, I mean,
There
in
you go.
fairness,
You learn something new every day.
While the guy was saying it, Rice was literally in the middle of like a warm up or a warm down behind him.
Yeah.
So, like, I just think maybe they might leave him at home, because don't forget he will be playing for a month in the World Cup.
Yeah, that's true.
Rice.
Yep, absolutely. Listen, we do give you your chance to vote for your starting 11 on the community tab on the West Ham Network. You've had a chance to vote for your 11, and here it is now. You have gone for a strong West Ham 11 now. That is, considering it's the whole fan base getting a chance to vote, then that's just what the nature of it happens. So we'll see tonight when the team news.
Very strong.
We'll see tonight when the team news is announced. Thank you for watching. This has been your West Ham starting 11 versus Fcsb. I'm going for a West Ham win. I'm going to go for a 3-0 West Ham win away from home. A young lad's going to get on the score sheet, and Aguerd with a volley inside the box. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, let us know your thoughts, give us your own feedback, put it in the comments as well, put your predictions in, and of course, stay safe and come on, you Irons.